My name is Danny Lalanders. I do a lot of things, but the thing I am doing right now is I'm the head developer of gosh darn. I'm the head developer. Why is this technology? Technology, guys. Oh my god. Oh my god. I love technology. Don't y'all love technology? I think technology is great. Why is my iPad doing this in my time of need? Danny stands. Okay. Hi guys. Hi guys. Hi guys. Okay. Hi guys. My name is Daniel Launders. I am the head developer of the super cool visual novel Validate game. Validate struggling singles in your areas is another word for it. I do a lot of other cool things. I'm a community manager. I used to do a lot of like art stuff in Homestuck. I do things. I used to have a lip gloss business, but right now Validate's my main gig. And I'm going to be talking to you guys about diversifying your media. Like I said, I'm Daniel Launders. You can find me at DanuLMAO on Twitter or at validategame.com. I think I'm qualified to give this talk because I have a pretty good handle of what stuff is. Most of the time, I think I know what I'm talking about majority of the time, but sometimes I don't. But like, if I don't, I'm gonna say I don't. So I'm gonna try my best. Also, forgive me. I need water a lot because sometimes people be going through it. Like I said, I'm the head developer of Validate. Team Validate, who has been with Validate since our Kickstarter. I'm looking to chat. If you guys want to say in the chat, say hi. Shout out to y'all. I'm doing a lot of really cool things. We're very, very excited to show y'all what we have planned. We have a lot of cool things planned, so look out for that. So, to begin my talk, what does it mean to diversify media? To start off, let's talk about some of the popular animated shows from last year. Close Enough, which was a sequel, prequel, like it's in the same universe as the regular show. That was a popular show that came out last year. She-Ra, very, very big show that came out last year, as well as Owl House, another big show that came out last year. So the issue with a lot of media is that there are often times when you look at posters for a lot of animated shows, it's basically you have your white character like right in the front, and then your characters of color either below them or to the side of them, but they're never centered. It's always like the white character. So like in the first example in Close Enough, you see 3 white characters right in the focus in the front. But if you look to the left, you see a black character. He's kind of off to the side, kind of cut off. And if you look to the right, you see what I'm assuming is an Asian character. And yeah, they're kind, like I said, they're kind to the right and cut off. And then if you look at the bottom, you see a bunch of characters of color. They're not really the focus. They're not really the main characters. In She-Ra, you see Adora, who is the main girl, right up in the front. And then in the bottom, you see all the other side characters, and most of the characters in the bottom are people of color. That was probably an accident, but when you don't think about these things, that kind of happens. But in our last example, in Owl House, you can see the character of color is right there, right in the center. Like, it is super right in your face. You are making sure that like it is right there. And by doing so, you are centering people of color, and that's just like something that's super important, especially when it comes to media nowadays, because like I said, like representation is one of the most important things ever. Like one of the most important things ever. It's way more important now than ever. Kids are growing up in a world that's like defined by media. Media is everywhere they look. And when they see themselves in the media they consume, it normalizes themselves. It normalizes who they are as a person. It normalizes that like who they are is okay to on a grand scheme of things. Does that make sense? Am I making sense to y'all? I'm just gonna do check-ins to make sure that we're all on the same page. And as I do check-ins, I will take a sip of water because I am parched. So on to the next slide. We're gonna talk about what does it mean to diversify media in video games. So The Last of Us Part 2, Cyberpunk 2077, and Control Ultimate Edition were three of like the more important, I wouldn't say important, but like popular Western games in that came out 2020. So The Last of Us Part 2, the fact that that game came out last year is just so crazy to me because like last year was just so long. Like, I don't know, am I the only one who feels like that? Like last year was just so long. Like that game came out, I think in February, right before the panty hit, is from my memory, or maybe it was during the panty. Time is relative. It doesn't matter. And then Cyberpunk came out at the end of the year. Control Ultimate Edition also came out, I think, near the end of the year. But we're not here to talk about when these games came out. We're here to talk about what the cover art tells you. The first example, obviously, Eli or Ellie, I never remember her name. She's the main character. She's the main bitch. Like, everyone knows that the story is about her. So it makes sense for her to be the only person on her cover art. However, let's just say you're getting into video games for the first time, and you just see Eli, and you're like, I want to play this game, but like, is this white woman the only person I get to play as, or is this white woman the only person I get to see? Like, where are the other characters? Like, do you guys understand what I mean? Like, when you put white people as the focus, it kind of removes everyone else. And like, personally, I know, like I've seen playthroughs of The Last of Us Part 2. I know that like the people around her are people of color, but like, why is that not shown? You know what I mean? Like, why is it just her? Like, I understand the story is about her and how she survived and all that BS, but you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of whack. Cyberpunk 2077, same issue. I mean, there's a lot of issues with Cyberpunk 2077, but we're not here to talk bad about their games. We're here to talk about how they chose a white man to be their mascot. What does that say to a company, to a game that already has the reputation that it has? It is a game in the future that, and not to be kind of like that person, but like with the rate that we're going, the average person in 2077 will not be a white person. It will probably be a person of color because of how we're mixing. I don't know. That sounds kind of gross. I don't like talking about that, but like, still, why a white man as the front of your game? Like, why? You could have done literally anyone else. Or you could have even done a duo. It's 2077. You could have shown a bunch of different cool cyberpunk outfits, a bunch of different cool cyberpunk games. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could have you could have shown so many different things, but you chose one white man. Like, what does that say about the people consuming your game, the people who are making this game, the people who you are targeting this game towards? Like, are you only doing it because you want your game to sell, because it is scientifically proven that when you put a white man on anything, it will sell more? Or are we ready as a society, as a gaming industry, to go past that shit? Because Deathloop has two dark-skinned black people on their cover art, and they're selling, like, they're not even selling the game yet, and so many people are hyper it. And you make the game that is definitely going to win Game of the Year, despite all of the problems that it has, and you make sure that a white man is the focus of it in 2020. Like, are we not tired of that? I love how I said that we're not going to talk bad about this game, but here I am talking bad about this game. It's I didn't mean to go on my ramble. My fault, bestie. It's my fault. But yes. that is my issue with the gaming industry. And with Control, Ultimate Edition, a white woman, the face of games. Again, I don't know what else to say from that part. I literally don't know what else to say from that part. So, next slide. What are some common themes among the media shown? The characters of color are often not shown in cover art, and even if they are, they're not censored. I think that it's just so important to censor your characters of color, even if they are side characters, because by putting them towards the side, it is shown that they are not important to your show. It is shown that they are not important to what you are trying to perceive to the world. You know what I mean? Like it's imagine, let's put this in a real world scenario. Imagine if you're taking pictures with a bunch of your friends, and let's just say a bunch of your friends are white, and let's just say you're a person of color. It's an even amount of people. So like it's kind of like trying to find a perfect angle is fine. It's kind of awkward. All of the white people automatically move to the front because they think that they're the star. They think that they are the most important part of the image. You, as a person of color, are kind of shoved to the back. How would that make you feel? You know what I mean? Like, how would that make you feel? What is that? That's scary. I hear someone who unmuted their mic. But yeah. I don't know what is going on. Okay, I have to ignore the chat because y'all are distracting me. I'm so sorry. Like, we just have to know. Like, I'm not even artful or whatever, but like we all know that the center of your media, like the center art of your media, is the most important part of your media. Like, the first thing that people always see is the middle of your piece, and by putting your white characters in the middle of your piece, what is that saying about your show? Or what is that saying about the media that you create? So, yeah. Next slide. Here's a quote by me. I said a couple months ago in an interview. If I had $1 million, I would simply create media with no white people. A quote by yours truly, Daniel Launders. I don't know. I'm just like of the opinion that like you just don't have to put white people in your media if you don't want to. Like, you don't have to do it. And like that was my biggest grip with Black Panther. You have a movie censored in Africa. Why the fuck are white people there? Why are they there? Like, why are they there? Like, why are they there? Why are they there? Why are they there? Like, it literally doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. The two token white characters didn't have to be there entirely because Wakanda is a whole place where they built inside so white people can stay the fuck away. I don't understand. 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 Oh God. And the fact that one of them died, and the other one almost died too, and y'all didn't let him die. Man, let me not get started on Marvel. Let me not get started on Marvel. And then in Civil War, when no, not Civil War, in Endgame, when Cap was just like, I know a guy, and then tribal music and then they decided that they want to mess up Wakanda. They want to fight in Wakanda and mess up their land. A bunch of colonizers. The Avengers are a bunch of colonizers. Goddamn. Okay, sorry. Enough about that. Questions to ask yourself as you're creating media. Do you have any characters of color in the media that you're creating? So let's go back a couple steps. Let's just say, hey, I've always had this idea about media centered in a mall. You got 5 friends who always go to the mall, and this media is about the stories, the troubles, the BS they get into as they hang out in this mall all the time. Think of those 5 friends. What are the races of those 5 friends? What race did you automatically assume those 5 friends were? Oh, yes, that is the plot of 16. Whatever. Whatever. But anyways, answer the question. What did you assume was the race of those 5 friends? Black. Okay, everyone's saying black. 4 white guy, 1 black. Black, mostly black, honestly Asian. Obviously, if we were asking other people, they would probably be like, oh, maybe 4 white guys 4 white people and 1 person of color, or be like, stop putting 16 in the chat. I messed up. It's all right. I messed up. It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has those days. Leave me alone. All right. All right, stop bullying me, please. I can't take this. My nimble little heart can't take this. Anyways, like I was saying, most people would automatically assume 4 white characters, 1 character of color, or even 5 white characters. So the next question I typically ask people is, when you add your person of color, who are your characters of color? What do they do? What are their jobs? Where are they from? What language do they speak? Are they evil? Like actual questions you should know about a character. Because typically when people create a cast of character that is mostly white and then 1 person of color, the 1 person of color is typically either a raging stereotype or evil. Or a token character of color. Like, you know what I mean? And like it's just like, or like they're either a token character of color or they're just like that character who is there for comedic effect. Like, that's whack. Whack as hell. And that's why I always be like, all right, think of your character. Are they evil? All right, check that off the mark. Are they often put in uncomfortable situations that revolve around their race? No? Check that off. Because these are things that people don't typically think about. But like, because it's so subconsciously in their mind that people of color character equals evil. And like, people like don't realize that. Like, think of any media that is majority white and has 1 character of color. Get literally any media. Say it in the chat. We'll analyze it together. Proud Family. Let's see. Oh, Degrassi. Degrassi is a very, very good example of this. Degrassi obviously has gotten better as the seasons progressed, but like in the beginning, it was oh god, I forgot what season it was, but it was like this one black character, like this one black girl, like they weaponized her every chance they got. Like every chance they got, they weaponized her. They said she was the bad girl. She was always the issue. She was always the instigator until like one episode where they finally addressed her, just like, why do you guys always put her in this position to be an instigator? Why do you guys put her in position to, you know, have like where she has to feel like she has to stick up for herself? Like what's up with that? Total Drama Island's another good example of that. Lashana, I actually watched that like last year. Lashana was always like the instigator. She was always the girl with the attitude, but it was never Heather. It was never Heather. Like they were never getting on Heather. It was always Lashana. Marvel movies as well. Yeah, and like it was always Heather was always the one who's just like, Lashana, why are you the way you are, X, Y, and Z? Like that was not okay. And like if we ever like, let's analyze Total Drama Island, the original cast with this one. Do you have any characters of color? Yes, they do. Who are your characters of color? Lashana, Noah, they had Courtney, they had like Sadie and Katie, because I know Sadie was like Asian and Katie was black. Like they had a couple. What did they do? Oh, DJ as well. What did they do? You know, teenagers on the island. What are their jobs? Teenagers on the island. Where are they from? What languages they speak? Are they evil? You see, like you guys see what I'm trying to understand, like what I'm trying to say with this talk. Like some of them are evil, some of them not evil. Justin, oh yeah, Justin as well. Like some of them are evil, some of them are not evil. Like DJ was like the total opposite of like he was a big burly black teenager, but like he was like a total sweetheart. Like they have some characters who are like Lashana, who's like, you know, more of a stereotype, and then DJ, who is, you know, kind of like the opposite. Yeah. But yeah, also Total Drama Island was a Canadian show. And I think it's still going. Oh God, give that show to God. Next slide. Create with purpose. Create the stories you've always wanted to create. So let me tell y'all a story about myself. Validate came to be in 2019. It was the summer of 2019 when me and Haven Vintage Foods, shout out to Haven Vintage Food, that is my dog, my slime, my slat, and I were in call one day, and we were just like, let's just create a VN. So it was going to be a small little project between him and myself, because that was back when I was still doing zines and community organizing. And he was just drawing. I think he was working at Finesse Quest by then. I'm not sure, but he was just like, you know, we were just chilling, like we weren't really doing anything. So we created Validate, and then I was just like, you know, I can do a little more. I had people like constantly be like, hey, you can do more. Like Validate could be very big. So I was just like, you know what, let's push myself. So we pushed more and more until we were just like, you know, Validate is ready to come to the public. So when we announced Validate on February 20th of 2020, and when we first announced Validate, everyone was just like, whoa, like this is big, this is great. And then we just kept going and going and going, and as more and more people like found Validate, more people were just like, Validate is everything I've always wanted. Validate is everything that I wished I had like when I was a teenager. I'm so glad that I get to experience this now. And it's just like it's very much like it's very jarring. Like every day, someone's just like, I love Validate so much. I love the concept of it. I love how daring it is. I love that. Like one thing we get a lot is that Validate is very daring. And that was what I created Validate with. I created Validate to be a daring media, a media that is not a media that is not that is really has not been like done before. I created an all cast of characters of color, of dark skinned characters of characters of color who are fat, of characters of color who have like visible arm hair, like characters of color who look like everyday people. I created that because I wanted to. I wanted something that I wish I had growing up. I'm in my 20s now. I'm in my early 20s. Like I wish that like this was my hyperfixation when I was like 15. And now I'm creating something that I want not teens, but like, you know, young adults, because Validate is an 18 plus media. But I wanted something that people are able to like, just, you know, to understand, to like, to love, to cherish, to see themselves in, to understand what it's like to be a single 20 something year old in a fictional Jersey media, and understanding that sometimes dating is really, really, really fucking hard, and sometimes dating is not everything that you wanted it to be. I've always wanted to create something that it talks about my own experiences, and now that I'm finally getting the chance to, and everyone's just like, I wish that someone had done this before, it makes me really happy. So I created Validate with purpose. And I want anyone who is creating any kind of media to create it with purpose. I want people to create that wizard school media, even if you think that Harry Potter already took that. No, fuck Harry Potter. Just do it yourself. You can create a modern day wizard school. You're doing spells in the background, and you have like two people doing TikTok dances while you're trying to do a spell. Like it's, you can do anything you want. You can create any media you want if you are creating with purpose. And if anything you guys take out of this talk, that is the one thing I want y'all to take out of this talk. Create the media that you want and create it with purpose. Yeah, everyone, fuck Harry Potter. 100 people. We're at 100 people. Oh my goodness. Are y'all liking this talk so far? But yeah, let's go to my next slide. So about Validate, I just is literally everything I just said. I started with a purpose to tell realistic stories about people of color in romantic situations. I wanted a game for people like me who have always wanted characters to look like myself and the people around me. I created Validate with care, did research on on the cultural backgrounds of each original character before putting them out to the world. I'll explain more in depth. Oh, yeah, the little Malik. I forgot he was there. I literally forgot he was there. Y'all see the little Malik in the corner? Okay. Telling stories with purpose. So like I said, I created Validate with purpose because I was tired of fighting for realistic media about people of color my age. I'm actually gonna stand for this next part because I feel like I'll be better if I'm like walking around. You guys see me standing, but I am standing. So we're standing. We're standing. Okay, anyways, like I said, I created Validate because I was tired of fighting for realistic media about people of color my age. Like I said, I'm in early 20s. I'm a black woman. I'm a black non-binary woman. Sorry, let me not misgender myself. I was tired of begging for black women to be put in media I consume. My personal vendetta against that is Overwatch. It's been like 5 years and you have not put a black woman in your game. I see the type of people that you are. Anyways, and also just other media in general. I personally am just like, why do I have to beg for y'all to be like, this woman is Black and this woman is awesome? Anyways, the purpose of Validate is to tell stories about people of color in romantic situations, focusing on their feelings when it comes to other people, their struggles in their own lives, etc. When I say this, I mean that it is about their feelings. I not to spoil a lot of it. If you haven't played our demo, please play our demo. You can probably find it somewhere linked here. Someone will probably put it in the chat. But yeah, yeah. It's just like I just wanted to create something for me. What is my time check? Okay, I have 20 minutes. No, I have 27 minutes. Okay. Next slide. I created Validate for people like me. All right, let's go back to the cast of Validate, or the cast that I put up here. You guys see this? You guys see this? Y'all see this? Y'all see what I'm looking at? How many of the characters look like you? Yeah, okay, so a lot of people are saying like three, two. Like, I did that for a reason. I wanted to create a media that was so great that looked like people like me. Yolanda has braids and a bandana on. That is typically my go-to hairstyle. Like, I wanted media that people can be like, oh my god, Yolanda Valade is just like me. I wanted media people could be like, oh my god, Ahiri Valade, he's so emo, I love him. Like, he is just like me. Like, I wanted that. I wanted people to be like, this is media that I see myself in, I relate to, and I feel comfort when I think of this media. This media makes me feel happy. And that's something that people should strive for. Because why not? Not my last slide, but I created with care. I did extensive research on every character I created, from country research to holidays, last names, etc. I put time and effort and love into each character because I care about the people I represent and validate. As I said before, I'm a Black woman. I'm a Nigerian non-binary Black woman, blah blah blah. And that is the only identity that I hold. I am not Korean and French. I am not Chinese and Black African American. I'm not Ghanaian. I'm not Pakistani. I did my research when I was creating each of my OCs because I felt like it was super important to properly represent everyone that I'm putting out into this world. And I feel like that should be the standard of how people are engaging in media, how people are talking about media, how people are putting media out to the world. Because a lot of the time when people put these ethnic backgrounds on their characters, they don't do a lot of research and they end up falling short and have these characters be more of a stereotype than an actual character. A good example of this is Overwatch, and I love Overwatch. I played Overwatch a lot for for a couple years, and I still have Overwatch. I still play it from time to time. But we can all agree that some of their characters are not very satisfactory when it comes to the Danulmao. Is this an actual character or a racist stereotype? So a good example of this would be Zenyatta. Oh, sorry, let's not talk about Zenyatta because I'm not 100% sure about this. A good example of this would be Hanzo. Hanzo is a Japanese character. A lot of times, a lot of people say that Hanzo and Genji are both very bad Japanese stereotypes. A lot of times with their skins, they're often offensive. They're not properly executed. They don't really put a lot of care into them. And then like, and then their backstories don't really make sense. It's very stereotypical. And a lot of people have shown expressed a lot of discomfort and a lot of disgust towards Blizzard, and Blizzard has not really listened to them much. That's not okay. And the only reason why Blizzard gets away with that is because Blizzard is a very big company. If me, a small indie dev, let's just say I put Yolanda into this world. Yolanda is Korean and French. Her dad is a Black French man, and her mom is a Korean woman. Who a little a little cute background is that they met when Yolanda's mother was in France for a high school graduation gift, and they fell in love, and then they mailed each other for like 5 years before they both moved to America, and had Yolanda. That's a little cute. Yes. Also, Blizzard Hong Kong, you know how that works. I don't want to get into that too much because that is not what this talk is about. This talk is about when it comes to me, a small indie dev, if I did not do extensive research about Korea in the 80s and France in the 80s, like, people would know. People would be like, hey, like, this is inaccurate and it's really offensive that you did not do like proper research. Like, I am doing research not because it is the right thing to do, because it is. Like, that is just like your duty as a creator. But it's because I care about the people I am representing. I care that I am properly putting forth a version of a character that isn't a stereotype, because I would not want someone doing the same for someone who is just like me. Does that make sense? And it's just like, I wish more people like had that kind of care when it came to creating characters, because so many more characters would be so much better if people did. And like Lucio doesn't make sense to me. How is he a hockey player from Brazil? I understand that y'all didn't want to make him a soccer player because y'all didn't want to be stereotypical, but y'all could have done it properly. Y'all could have done it properly. Y'all could have done it properly. Y'all can't see me, but I'm like holding a hand, like I'm face palming right now. Throw it back to 2012. Next slide. Let's talk statistics, baby. Numbers are scary, but I will make them not as scary. So the gaming industry is very white and very male. So this is based off a 2017 developer satisfaction survey conducted by the IGDA. They are very cool people. Shout out to them. They've said very nice things about Validate, and I will forever be in their debt. But anyways, 74% of respondents identify as male, and 26% identified as non-men. So women, trans folks, or non-binary identity. Vanilla Ice, LMFAO. And then 61% of the respondents of the survey identified as white, 18% identified as East or Southeast Asian, 5% identified as Hispanic or Latino, 3% identified as Pacific Islanders, 2% identified as Arabian or West Asian. Arabian? Oh, Middle Eastern. And then 2%. You guys just witnessed my brain short circuit in real time. 2% identified as Aboriginal or Indigenous, and 1% identified as Black or African American or African. Do we see the problem here? 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 Because like there's an actual problem here, and it's not good. It's not good at all. It is not good. Yeah, it's like it's just not cool. It is not good. It's not good at all. I just I just wish that like things were better. The gaming industry is very white, and as I work more and more into Validate, I realize that it is very very white, like very very white. It's very scary. So next slide. 83% of who is playing these games? So most people don't notice, but majority of people who are playing video games are people of color. 83% of non-Hispanic Black boys, teenagers play video games, while 71% of white teenagers play video games, and 69% of Hispanic teenagers play video games. Like, majority, video games is more popular amongst Black and Latino boys. Not saying that like everyone else can't play video games, but like more people of color in the United States are playing video games than their white counterparts. But the people who are making these games don't really reflect that. Y'all see the issue here? Not 2K. LMFAO. Ooh. Let's play a game, y'all. Let's play a game. Are y'all ready to play some games? Are y'all ready for a game? We about to play a game, y'all. Do y'all know what game we about to play? Alright, we about to play a game called Is This Character a Racist Stereotype or a Well-Written Character of Color? Okay. So, basically, I'm gonna show y'all a character and y'all gonna tell me, do y'all think this character is a stereotype or a well-written character of color? Let's start with Barrett Wallace from Final Fantasy VII. What do y'all think? Everyone is saying stereotype, gotta be a stereotype, and y'all are correct. Yeah, this character was made in the 90s, so like it's kind of no one's really surprised that it's a stereotype. But yeah, they're getting better in the newer renditions, but you know the OG design, no bueno, no bueno. Next character. This is the Jimmy. Sorry if I'm saying this wrong. Please correct me. My apologies. I'm so sorry. But they are from Cuphead. Is this character a stereotype or a well-written character of color? Yeah. It's a stereotype. Yeah. The cups, the teapots for legs is not. It's not real. It's not really a good look. You know. Ooh, it's not really a good look. I don't think so. I don't think that's a good look, y'all. Like that's not good. That's not good at all. Zone like that. I also don't know how they got away with this. Like Cuphead did not come out that long ago, but whatever. Next character. Lee Everett from the Walking Dead game. Is this character a stereotype or a well-written character of color? Yeah, well written. Yeah, I would say Lee's a well written character. At the beginning, he was in the back of a cop car until, I mean, this is a spoiler, whatever. This game came out like 10 years ago. Y'all should be fine. But he was in the back of a cop car, and I don't know if we ever found out why he got arrested, but I'm gonna let this one slide. Next character, Nadine Ross from the Uncharted series. Well written person of color or a stereotype? Y'all never played Uncharted? Oh my goodness. Yeah, she's played by her voice actress is a white woman. Very, very sad, very upsetting. We cry every day. She's very pretty to me though. She is very beautiful to me. But you could argue that like she's a well-written character, but she is like because she's voiced by a white woman. You know, no, she's British, so there's no black accent. Our last character, no, sorry, we have one more after this, but Bangalore from Bangalore. I wish I could pronounce this. Bangalore from Apex. Well-written character color or a stereotype? Yes, she is well written. Her character design is actually one of my favorite black women in any video game because you can tell they put a lot of care into her hair, which is pretty much asking for scraps at this point. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Y'all know what I mean? Pain. Our last character, Miles Morales from the Spider-Man Miles Morales game. Is he a well-written character of color or a stereotype? Everyone is saying well-written. Y'all are right. Miles Morales is a well-written character of color. He just has the swagger of a black teenager, but we could just freeze. anyways. That is my talk, y'all. Thank you guys so much. Now is a Q&A time. I will be answering questions about literally anything. It can be about diversifying your media. It can be about validate. It can be about creating games. Yeah. Question time. Woo! I'll be looking at the panel room, and I'll also be looking at the chat on Twitch. So I will answer any question that y'all have. Okay. Okay. Let's see. How's the progress going for the game? Ooh, okay. So we have some things that we're gonna announce this month. This month is we have a lot of cool and epic gay things planned. So I'm gonna hit y'all up with some updates pretty darn soon. Let's see. Next question. Faye Validate character. I can't be biased. I love my shithead Malik. He is a dumb man. Love that man. Let's see. How to deal with racist backlash. Simply remember that white people do not pay your bills and ignore them. I don't know. I've been dealing with racist white people on the internet since I got on the internet, so I kind of have tough skin for it, so I don't really care anymore. But I understand, just I think the one advice I can give anyone about anything is just remember that these are not the people you're creating for, and anything they say literally does not matter at all. It doesn't matter. Let's see. You ever get someone saying you should make your leads white instead of black? Yes. People say that as jokes all the time, and I'm just like, I don't really care. All right, let's see. Do I have any tips for including LGBTQ characters correctly? I don't know. I'm an LGBT person, so I kind of just put myself in there. I don't know. I just be normal. Just make sure they're not stereotypes is all I can tell you, and also have actual like LGBT or queer people write these stories or write these characters. Next question. How do you deal with backlash when people get eyes on your media? I don't know, guys. Validated accounts almost at 10,000 followers. I don't know. How am I doing well? I think I'm doing a pretty good job. Let's see. I have a question. If you could blah blah blah. Okay. If you could touch a less spoken trope about BIPOC being given learning roles in media as a way to vilify them. Oh, okay. Yes, I understand that one. There's a really good example of that is actually in Luke Cage. When Black people like, it's kind of like Black versus Black in that show, but like I can understand what you mean. Like Black people are given like higher roles so they can be the villain. Yeah, that is like that. Like Black people are either shown as higher roles or they're either shown as like bottom of the barrel, poor XYZ. They're never in between. And I just think that like that's just like a really bad trope that white people don't realize that Black people can just be, middle class, be wealthy, be not wealthy. Like you don't always have to show people like as poor. Like that's not okay. Okay, how did you get started with writing your story for Validate? Like I said a bit earlier, I wanted to create stories that I've always like my own experiences with dating and stuff. So I was just like, I'm a funny girl. I'm gonna just put this in the game. So I just did that. I literally just did that. I'm not really a good person to answer this question because I kind of just started doing it, and because no one can stop me. But I know other people are just like, oh, there has to be a whole process. Like, no, find you a group of writers, find you a group of friends who will help you write this, and just start doing it. All right. Let's see. Let's take more from the chat. For researching, do you have methods for avoiding unreliable sources? So a lot of the sources when I was researching is that I was watching a lot of videos from people telling their stories and their own perspectives on YouTube. Like I want to say like not really BuzzFeed videos because they kind of like exaggerate a little more, but like you can find like vlogs of people telling their stories, like authentic stories about themselves, Twitter threads, Reddit threads. Obviously you can tell when someone's lying online, or maybe I can. I've been on the internet for a very long time. But sometimes you can't, sometimes you can. Whatever. All right. Next question. Next question. Let's see. Will you be sharing your slide with us to see as use as a reference? Oh, yes. You guys can use my slides. I can probably put them up. Let's see. Any more questions? Am I missing anything? What is my favorite VN dating game? My favorite VN right now is Coffee Talk. That game is very, very cute and very, very wonderful, and I'm very glad that it's getting popularity again. All right, hey, I was thinking about making the 3 main villains in my game Black, gay, Cody, even though nearly all my characters are gonna be Black and gay, literally even God. I don't want to fall into that shitty trope of making all villains Black and gay. If all characters were Black and gay, then there's no issue because there's no power struggle. Let's see. If you had gotten your powers on the 21st of December, which powers would you want most? I actually did get my powers. I had my ice powers. Oh, the girls are fighting. But yes, I got my ice powers on December 21st. Let's see. How much is that game? I think when I bought it, Coffee Talk was $10, but I think it might be the full sale $12 again. But yes, I have 9 minutes left. So if y'all have 9 minutes to ask me questions. Ice power demonstrations. I don't know if I got that in me right now. I'm a little tired. I'm about to go eat after this. I don't know. Okay, I really got into the groove of making everything that I draw melanated and creating stories with people that look like me, but I'm always worried about falling into tropes of facing backlash. Why are they all black? Like, I always find myself being careful. When if anyone asks you why are they all black, simply say because I can and move on with your day. I think that the most important thing that people and creatives need to understand is that if these people are not paying your bills, nothing they say matters. And that is kind of just how I've been getting through this with Validate. If these people are not paying my bills, I don't give a fuck what they say. I don't give a front door what they say. How did you find like-minded people who are BIPOC to work with, to tell stories together with? I don't have many like-minded BIPOC friends like myself and want to create. So basically, I don't know, everyone who I'm working with on Validate was a friend of mine. I have a lot of friends because I'm very big on social media, so I know a lot of people. But also friends know other people. Not everyone on the Validate team is a friend I knew first. Some of them were recommendations from other friends who I like trusted. I read their resumes and I loved it. But yeah, like friends of friends. I don't know what else to say. Like you just have to throw the net out and some people will come back. All right, let's see. Did I miss any question? But yeah, I don't know. I don't really talk to a lot of white people outside of online spaces. Because I simply don't have to. But haha, that was a joke. Ha, please don't fire me, employer. But yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of friends. I know a lot of people. If y'all want to meet other black creatives, like I said, join Black Card members. Like there's so many in there. Hi Plazzy, my friend Plazzy. But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any other questions? Okay, any Validate question, anything, literally anything. I will ask you about Naruto. I've been watching nothing but Naruto for like the past like 10 hours. I love Naruto. I've been watching Shippuden. I'm on episode 42. How am I doing today? I'm doing great. How do I feel about Heathen and I don't know if I got that far yet. I'm about to go eat a cupcake. What is my favorite pasta shape? I really love me some penny. What are my thoughts on Kakashi? Kakashi is so sexy. I love that man so much. How good is the fishy minigame going to be? Oh, the fishy minigame is about to be the cutest thing in the entire world. Oh, you guys are not ready for the fishy minigame. Oh, it's going to be so cute. Opinions on Chloe x Halle. I love them. If anyone ever makes Chloe cry again, I'm going to have it to intervene. Leave that girl alone. Is it going to be as stressful as no? The Stardew Valley fishy minigame is very stressful. No, it will be very cute and very cute. Which black anime characters do you think are well written? Billy the Kid from Cannon Busters. I think everyone should go watch Cannon Busters right now, so we can get that second season pronto. That is a anime about with an all black cast. I think everyone should go watch that, please. How do I feel about Luna? I love them girls. Oh, I think Avdol from JoJo Part 3 is also very well written. I'm very sad that he died. That is Muhammad Muhammad Avdol. I love that man so much. Every day I think about him. Every day I wake up and I'm just like, Muhammad Avdol, I love you so much. Yes, he died twice. He did die twice. He did die twice. That was kind of fucked up. How do I feel about Carol and Tuesday? I'm waiting for the dub because I cannot watch subbed animes because ADHD said, no, thank you. You will not be watching that. So I'm waiting for the dub to come out. It looks very cute. I heard it was a little boring, but I will stick through it because black character. What are some good animes to watch right now? Don't ask me for anime recommendations, actually. I will just tell you to go watch JoJo, and I don't think anyone wants to hear that. Okay, I have 3 minutes left. Let's see. Y'all are seeing a lot of animes, and I just don't know any. Let's see. I'm not watching Baki. Please don't make me watch Baki. I am not a man. My favorite food is mozzarella sticks. My favorite visual novel right now is Coffee Talk. Okay, well, I'm gonna. Yes, you can expect more games from me after Validate. I actually am about to come out with this game that's about to change everyone's life. It's gonna be gay. My favorite kind of bubble tea is like a good strawberry one. I'm a slut for anything strawberry. Favorite meme. I love the asexual Nicki Minaj meme. I think about that one every day. Favorite candy, Sour Patch Kids. Hello. Okay, well, I have 1 minute left. So, thank you guys so much for watching my talk. I can't believe I managed to get like 120 people in here at one point. That was kind of crazy. You guys can find me on at twitter.com/DANULMAO. Or you guys, if you guys have any questions, you guys can hit me up on Twitter. Or you guys can send things to my business email at danalaunders@gmail.com. Make sure to follow at Validate Game. Make sure to stay on Validate, play your demo. Also, thank you for having me, Black Card members. I really appreciate y'all sticking me into here. This talk will probably be available somewhere. I don't know where, but it'll be available somewhere. Thank you guys for having me. Bye!
Here we go. It's 3 o'clock, y'all. Hello. Thanks so much for joining in on this panel. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. First, I want to make a couple sort of like house maintenances before getting into the talk. First, that's a huge thank you to the Black Card members Discord server and everybody who is like tuning in on Twitch and Discord chat right now. I'm super excited that you're a part of this conversation and that you wanted to come hang out with me. Also, an epic shout out to Danny, who was just before the stream. If you are still tuning in from that conversation and the talk with like representation in media, because it leads right into some of the things that we'll be touching here as they pertain to video games and how to get game dev things started. And so, yeah, I'm going to try and talk slow and paced out. I want to keep the conversation very open, very casual, especially as questions are going to be coming in for Q&A and things like that. So if something does come up, keep those thoughts in mind towards the end, and then we can have a moment to kind of address things all together. But without further ado, tell a bit about myself. My name is Derek Fields. I go by WakingOni on social media. That's Twitter, that's Twitch, that's itch.io, that's anything else. And I'm a game dev. I am also the lead content artist for a Roblox game called Adopt Me. So if you have any kids or younger siblings who are playing Adopt Me, I am one of the lead artists for that game, responsible for a lot of the content updates and doing a lot of the designs for some of the work, as well as leading the rest of the art team. Outside of work, what I do is I'm the founder and CEO of WakingOni Games. We are currently wrapping up on our first title called Master, which I'll be sharing a lot in this conversation, and advocating for representation in games, trying to get resources out to other individuals who are interested in taking the leap into games, and inspiring the next generation. I do not necessarily come from a traditional background as far as being a designer and building games. I went to school for illustration and 3D modeling, and then I didn't find a job in a game company for a long time. So I think that's important to keep in mind as it pertains to making games and as it pertains to making your first game, because that path for getting into games is not the same. It's not going to be the same for you as it's going to be the same as, and it's not going to be the same for your neighbor. So let's get started. So you want to make your first game. As far as that goes, that's amazing. That's like, you're already there. You're already into the first spot. You want to get involved in the industry. And it doesn't have to be, the high points are, it doesn't have to be something big, something grand in order for you to be involved in games. You can start with something really, really small and get started right away. So you've got this badass idea. What are you going to do with it? Where are you going to take it? Like, how do you even get started? There's one of the, I would say, from personal experience, one of the most debilitating things that can happen is coming in with a really, really large idea and then realizing the scope of that idea too late into the game is much bigger than what you anticipated it to be. Again, I'll be using Master a lot and talking to it as an experience, because it has taught me a lot as a developer. And even if I had the opportunity to go back and kind of do that game again, there are some things that I'll raise up in this conversation that I would definitely apply. I would absolutely apply to Master. So yeah, huge idea. I'm going to make an MMO. I'm going to make this RPG that nobody's seen before. I'm going to make the dopest user-generated, content kind of creation game. You have that idea. It's important to take that big idea, just take that huge, weighty idea and throw it out the fucking window. To be honest with you, having a really, really large scope takes up a lot of resources. It's going to eat up a lot of resources, and you'll find that navigating how big of a game, say for your first game, is going to be, it's going to make that path very, very long and very, very kind of arduous. And so it's important to take all those amazing thoughts and reduce those things down. And so whether it's a narrative game, an MMO, a fighting game, or anything like that, take all those thoughts and condense them down. Here's an idea for just like a random game that I had in my head. This game is too big. This game is way too big, especially for me and the team that we work together with. And in terms of creating games, we're a team of 6, and this idea is much too big. But let's jump into it and kind of look at its pieces and parts and ask ourselves, how many different elements would there be in order to get this game out the door? So what I did is I threw down kind of a little random idea called Mech Arena Sports Game. If you find yourself having the resources to build this game, please just go ahead, take it. I'm not going to make this game because it's too huge and it's going to take way too long. It's going to take too many years to build this game out. But if we were to start, it's important to still bring up your pitch. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Bring up things that are your inspiration and any sort of notes. And so if we were looking at this Mech Arena Sports game, it says collect and customize robot campaigns to compete in a sprawling roller derby arena. In my head, that sounds amazing. That sounds like a game that I would play right away and eat up, and it would have my wallet for the foreseeable future. But let's take a moment to take into account the resources that we have available. You as a developer, this might be your first, your second game, or even your third. But it's important to take a moment and examine what resources you have available in order to pursue this project. How many people are on your team? What disciplines do they maintain? And how long is it going to take for them to build out some of these assets? That starts taking that. Then that's just not even on a mechanical level, but like I said, the art assets, the UI, the programming. Once you start to expand and itemize some of those things, that's when you realize, okay, this is huge, and this is either going to take a really, really long time, or I'm going to need hundreds of people to help pull it together. Some of the notes that Mech Arena Sports Game, just this random example, included. I would say it says a roller derby indie style environment, pit stops, Mario Kart style power ups. Maybe it incorporates teams of 3s, player created guilds. As you start to read through some of these notes, narrative ideas, story mode, custom robo parts, you start to the weight of okay, I need to build UI for this. I need to build a 3D model for all these different custom robot parts that I want to add to my character. And I also have to build some sort of engineering or integration to make all of these things cohesive and work with one another. So let's take that idea. Let's condense it. Let's take all these like 4, 5, 7, a million different pillars, these features that you wanted to put into your game, and squish it all the way down to maybe start with one. Maybe that one idea is something that helps you expand on the bigger idea. Like if the Mech Arena Sports Game is your baby idea, the one that you really want to knock out, the one that you really want to bring into the industry one day, use the different mechanics that are discussed, that you explore in that initial brainstorming. Use those as like an example, a template for the smaller games, the individual games that you want to create. And so let's say for our Mecha Sports Arena game, one of the mechanics is just getting around the arena. Let's start there. And you're a robot. You're getting from point A to point B, similar to Mario Kart. Well, that might be a reasonable good space, and there's probably resources available already that can help you to explore like solving that problem on a fundamental level. We'll get into some of the other resources here in a moment, but building like a very short game jam game, within a certain stint of time will allow you to knock out just like okay, cool, we made a game and it's just racing. It's just getting around the track, and that's all that we did. Take another element of the Mech Arena sports game that you might be interested in, and I'm sorry. Let me switch over to the panel room chat so I can watch the right one. Take that racing element. You have a foundation. You have something that is a core element to our Mech Arena sports game, and let's add another layer on it. So now I want my mechs to be able to I want them to be able to animate. I want them to be able to dance and sort of flourish while they're moving around the arena. Obviously, that takes up another resource, being animation, but that's another opportunity to be able to go back to another game jam idea, another short-term, short-focused project that you could then expand on that one thing. And so now, not only have you created 2 games, you've created one game that is just a race car mech piloted racing game, but now you have another layer on that run. Now these mechs are animating, they're flourishing, they're moving around, they're doing another piece, another iteration on the design document. All right, let me see here. So we've condensed our idea. Once we have the pillar, one of those pillars, I'm going to keep using the Mech Arena sports game in this example first, and then circle back to talk about on semester. But let's say we have our racing part. Well, it's time to expand on just that pillar foundation, that pillar mechanic that we have. And so racing, getting around the arena, using, be it paper, be it Google Drive or any sort of online service to help, is a really, really great way to document and begin to track some of that information. And that can be your game. It's called your game design document, but it's sort of your game Bible for being able to return to that information, expanding on it, expanding on those details, and being able to go back to them and watch as your document, the version of the document, can continue to iterate and expand. It's almost like a text track record, a text timeline of how your game idea is now growing. Some really, really great, as far as resources, some really, really, really great resources that are available now and available at little to no cost, some of which are free, are right here on the screen. And so if you're looking for, cool, I got this idea, I got my Mech Arena sports game, I want to start jotting it down. You might use Google Drive, that has Google Docs, Google Sheets, any number of those tools available. Notion is another really, really great resource that kind of takes a few pieces and parts of, this one's a little higher level, but it takes a few pieces and parts of a lot of different online resources and project management resources and packages them all up nice and neat into one application or one website that you can go to. Another one is Miro. Miro is actually what I'm using right now to pull along this demonstration and pull along the conversation that we're having. What I really enjoy about Miro most of all is that it's this sort of infinitesimal whiteboard that you can work with yourself or work with others to be able to jump into, to jot your ideas down, to insert images, emojis, handwrite notes if you're using it on a tablet, and really start to expand on all the different elements that you want to pull together for your document. I love it because it's very convenient to be able to share with other people, and it's a lot of fun. And then traditionally, there's paper and pen. There's nothing stopping from just jotting down those notes in a notebook and expanding on there. As long as you're tracking it, as long as you're getting those ideas out of your head and onto paper. I think that that's really important. When talking about how, like, okay, I'm in front of this piece of paper, and where do I start? What do I begin with? Honestly, Google, in my personal experience, has been the most valuable resource. YouTube University, all of that stuff has been the first stop that I go to anytime there's something that I'm trying to troubleshoot, anytime there's information that I'm trying to access. I always go to Google. The only thing that might stop somebody is understanding the verbiage or the nomenclature for getting that sort of resources that you want. And so in this case, game design document template would be a really great search term to sort around. And any one of the ones that pop up in Google search is a really great place to start. There are documents out there that are a little bit more granular than others. There are some out there that are very simple. And I would say start with one of the simple ones where it's just a header and a prompt that you can then fill out. And so for a game design document for this Mech Arena game, you might have the first part of your document might be pitch. And that is where you're developing a very short one to two sentence phrase that describes your game. I'll talk about that again in just a moment as far as some of the resources go. But and then there will be other prompts, expanding on those different mechanics, and et cetera, et cetera. Let's come back to that. Okay. So we have our document. We have worked into the. Actually, I'm gonna pause because it'll be great to just talk about some of the elements of the game design document, just like right here. Yes, the software I'm using is called Miro. So within a game design document, you're going to see a lot of different headers, a lot of different details that is prompting you to expand on the information. It will be things like your pitch. It will be things like the primary game mechanics, the story, a detailed version of your story, and so on and so on. And honestly, aside from the pitch, a lot of these things, there isn't like a go-to. There isn't like a perfect way to do it every single time. This document is for you. This document is for you and the people that you are sharing with in order to keep the details sort of chronicled, but it's not like a portfolio or anything that you're going to have to go around and pass to other people necessarily. And so when concerning the pitch, if this is your first time hearing what that phrase is, another way to call it is an elevator pitch. And that is essentially talk about your game in a way that it could be told to somebody while you're in an elevator. And so that gives you a very short parameter of how long you are allowed to talk about your game, how much space that needs to take up, that you're discussing that with the other person, and what key things you need to hit while you're having that conversation with somebody. It's very important that your elevator pitch contain information that discusses the primary mechanics to your game. And so for this Mech Arena sports game idea that we're running with currently, this just says collect and customize robot companions to compete in a sprawling roller derby arena. And so there are a little bit it contains a little bit in the flashy side as far as some flashy words, some adjectives in there, sprawling and all that kind of stuff. But it also tells you what the player is going to be getting right into. They're going to be collecting, they're going to be customizing these sort of robot companions, and there's going to be some sort of sports activity that they'll then take their robot companions to. In my opinion, pitch can always be shopped around. You can always continue editing it as you start working on your game and developing it and expanding the verbiage that is associated. But to me, this feels like a relatively good pitch, relatively good sentence that might grab somebody's attention if you were to tell it to them in an elevator. Enough to make them go, "Oh, that sounds dope as hell. Please tell me more." So, pitch. The next thing, let me take a moment and I'm going to jot down some of these little bubbles here for all of us to be able to see. So, cool. Pitch. Let's see here. some other details that will be included. I have the luxury of only being able to share one screen at a time, and so otherwise I would pull up my my other game design document that can go along with this. But I will pull it up off screen and jot down some of these headers for you. But as I said, most importantly, another thing that you can do is take to Google and seek out one of those templates, keep that template somewhere, and then anytime you're working on a new game design idea, duplicate that template and use it as your keep that one safe, duplicate it, and work within the duplicated document to keep that other one secret, so that you don't forget some of the other details that you want to touch on. So we have our pitch. Next up would be an overview, something that would be sort of like your pitch, but expands those details a little bit more. It will be the tell me more point in your game design document discussion. And this is where you can dedicate, like a paragraph or two to talking about the key parts in your game. Next thing that would be coming up, whoops, I'm supposed to duplicate. There we go. This is where we can talk about our core mechanics. And once you have your core mechanics understood, not only for yourself, but the person who is listening to you, this is where you can really expand on those and start to prototype, start to experiment with what those core mechanics are for your game and how they impact the gameplay and what you're trying to get out of the player. It doesn't have to be a very long list of things, especially for your first or second game. Try to keep those mechanics short and sweet, but make them strong. If your game is focused, if we're working with our mech arena game and our game is focused on getting from point A to point B around this arena, that's mechanic number one. If the next mechanic is collecting power-ups and firing them at your enemies, or your robot has all these different abilities that they can use, mechanic number two. Go at that. There will be some other pieces in the document, things like target platforms, not necessarily something to worry about as far as like getting it to console or anything. Your monetization model, other really fun buzzwords that are in there. But the other nitty gritty pieces that will be really fun to focus in on for just a moment here will be like, if they pertain to your game, story, and then a description of gameplay. And so, story, I don't think I need to spend a lot of time talking about what that is or how it relates to a game. But it's important to keep that information in your document if it is relevant. The other part is gameplay, discussing how not only incorporating the mechanics that you have listed above, but talking about how they expanding on it and how they relate to the player and what they're going to get into throughout the game. And so in this case, maybe the mech arena game is a player is logging into a server hub, some sort of interactive world that they can move about. And before, this is things that are getting up to, to the racing part. But I'm going to try and keep it simple. Maybe you're logging into a simple server hub and you go up to a counter and you select your race, and that's it. Like, that's keeping it simple. As much as I would love to have the player walk into like a Splatoon style server hub, or like what the Dragon Ball Z Fighters like server hub, I think even those are a little bit too expansive for especially for like a first or second title. But so keep it small, please. And then you can go into talking about other things like what assets you might use, or what assets are going to be needed to help convey the idea that you're working with. So let me close this up. And I'd be more than happy to share along. I can share it in chat as well. I'd be more than happy to provide a link to any other game design documents that I have found that have been useful for me, or ones that I am currently using. Something I mentioned earlier is that I do stream on Twitch, and I especially talk about game design as well as actively working on Semester on Twitch. And so it's a really great space that if you have any additional questions as it pertains to the game design document or any other resources that you need, that would be a really, really great place to ask. You can pop in anytime that I'm on and ask any questions. I'm more than happy to answer. And it's a complete it's a component of the Twitch channel. And so we also apply a lot of game design elements in exploring some of the games that we're playing. So I'm going to hydrate because I've been talking a lot. I love some of the comments that are coming in. Okay, so we have our game design document. We have expanded on the few but important details that we want to address in our very tiny scope game. I'm going to keep saying tiny and little and small and chisai and everything else in between to express like keep it tiny, keep it simple, and keep it easy for yourself, because iteration is important. Learning the lessons from that first attempt is important, and then applying the lessons to the next thing. It's going to get easier every single time. But I promise you that if you go big for the first one, you will either be working on that same game for the next 10 to 15 years because you won't have the funding that is necessary to produce it, or you will quickly realize that it is huge and that you need to go small. So, all right. So now that we have expanded on those little details, it's time to work on a prototype, but slowly. So, when working on a prototype for your game, it does not have to look pretty. It does not have to have final assets. In fact, I would tell you from personal experience, I will share a very fun story that it does not have to look final in any circumstance, or you'll find yourself circling back to redo assets that you wasted your time doing. You will find yourself changing art direction. You will find yourself realizing that maybe some of those assets that you created were created inefficiently and for any reason or another. So as far as prototyping goes, two really, really great pieces of software that I would suggest using and jumping into YouTube University if you haven't explored them already would be Unity or Unreal. This conversation, I can only speak to Unity as it is the one that I use. I'm constantly learning things every single day, and I would love to learn Unreal. If you out there are already experiencing it, or you're already taking the steps to learn Unreal, that's amazing. If you're already taking the steps to learn both, wow, that's really cool. Congratulations you. And I would love to hear some tips on how your experience has been about it. But I'll be expressing some of these details as they relate to Unity and my experience in Unity. To touch back to this anecdote that I mentioned about making sure that your assets are not final and trying to not build the final version of your game. The title that I'm currently working on, called Onsen Master, originally started as a hobby between myself and my roommate at the time. And this was like 6 or 7 years ago. And so Onsen Master was not at that time not an idea that was let's take this game, let's punch it out on all the different consoles or all these different things. It was I want to make this really cool game. I want to I'm going to contradict myself here for just a moment. But we wanted to make a game that was deeply inspired by Spirited Away, but it was supposed to be kind of an adventure RPG in a way. You see where I'm going with this? And you, as the player, were going to travel to different locations, gather your ingredients as though they were resources out in the wild, the environment, collect them, take them to your home, and then process them all before actually engaging with the main core mechanic of the game, which is taking the player to a bathhouse and having this sort of customer matching ingredients. So my roommate and I, at the time, we started charting out this game, and we were really, really married to a lot of those big mechanics. And then there were just two of us at the time, later to be three. And still, I'm think we're trying to figure out, how is the player going to travel to these different locations? How are we going to do all these things and gathering these ingredients? And it started to become bigger and bigger and more difficult and really expansive, and a project that was tooled about as a sort of hobby idea for more than a few years before finally settling on, this is what Onsen Master is. It is a bathhouse strategy game about healing, and these are the core mechanics that we're going to focus on, which is gathering ingredients, gathering your customer, and taking them to the bath. That is it. It took a long time to figure that out and to get to that spot. If I had the opportunity to do Onsen Master over again, I would slap myself in the face right when I was doodling things up on this whiteboard and, hastily drawing things out and drawing all these different ideas, and say, stop. You need to focus in on just a little bit, and start there. So in the earliest of days, this is what Onsen Master had looked like. We were working out the game design document just as sort of like a Flash 2D representation, or not Flash, but like Photoshop representation, indicating all the different core mechanics as we were explaining them in the game design document, so that if somebody else who were working on the project on the team ever were to forget any of those pillars that we wanted to discuss, they could then go back to the document, see, oh, right, okay, we're supposed to be, say, in this first image, greeting customers, and each of these customers are going to be coming in with a specific different, a unique mood to the previous one. Each of these icons represented things like the player or customer ABC and so on. You can see here that even in this version of the document, we were still tooling with the idea of how is the player going to gather ingredients? How are they going to take and build those ingredients? What exactly is going to happen? And even this idea at the time was still too big. We had things like a base ingredient, and then the green ingredient would have a buff or debuff, and then there would be enchantments. But we still found a way to include those things. But it came with iteration. It came with time. And this is just an example of some of the player dialogue and another sort of pillar that we wanted to include at the time, but we later ended up cutting it out of the game. Its dialogue's taking a bit of a different shape. Talking about Unity and talking about building things in simple assets that are not attractive is where we started to go, and that's where we started to focus in on. And so here's an example of an old scene within Unity that contains what Onsen Master looked like in the earliest of days, and these sort of elements were to represent some of the different assets that built the scene. So the bath and the player and so on and so on. Okay, down the road, because I was getting ahead of myself and because I come from an art background, I started making assets anyway. I said that I know how I know for a fact that how this game is going to look. I know exactly what it's going to appear like, and so I'm going to start working on these things right now. Some of these things I'm not even sure how they're going to correlate with one another, but I want them in there. And so I started building Onsen Master and its 3D. I started building the 3D assets for Onsen Master prematurely, even though some of those assets still exist in the game today. There were a lot of changes that we made to the game, and how it is represented now, which you'll see a little bit later. But if me looking at this now, I can recognize a lot of mistakes that were made at that time. Primarily being that I shouldn't have been making these assets in the first place. There was so much more to be able to focus in on, to be able to tool around about, in order to make sure that the gameplay mechanics, those primary things, were confirmed and were in there. From the initial sort of mock-up that you see here, to gathering ingredients, to the interaction with the customer, you can begin to make out some of those elements still in this mock-up. And so you can tell that even though there were some grand ideas for the scale of what we were making, we still found a way to cut those things back, to simplify and pursue the version of the game that we have now. All right. So after you've spent all that time prototyping, after you've figured out those pillar mechanics, then it's time to start working on things in a way that is focused in on making your game pretty and making the different elements of your game match the version of them that you had in your head is the way that I would put that. And so you can still hear, I'll go back to the original one for just sort of a contrast. Actually, let me put them next to each other. But you can see from start to finish the differences between where the game started, how those assets have changed. And one of those sort of, if I could do this again, I would probably leave that initial one in its blocky shapes and its ugly non-painted shapes, just to make sure that those mechanics are confirmed. I'm explaining this. I'm telling you my mistakes out loud in hopes that it will give you the confidence and the ability to stay rigid about this decision. Because again, if you're coming from an art background, or if you are thinking about the game in its aesthetic already, I would really, really encourage you to just kind of pause and make sure those mechanics are meaningful. Make sure those mechanics work. You need the cake before you can put the icing on it and all that stuff. Also, I like baking, so there's my baking joke for the day. But what we did following that, we did start to realize, what we wanted those final assets to look like. And so then I could really dive in and start to create things and start to build assets in a way in the version of the game that matched in my head. And that's what you're looking at now, as well as some of the GIFs to express a little bit of the gameplay and some of the fun that is being had with Onsen Master. So once you have done that, to recap, we have our game. We have this amazing. I'm gonna move all the way over here. We have our super cool badass idea, and we don't know where to begin with it. We are taking a moment to chart out all the different mechanics, have fun with it, throw all those mechanics onto the wall and say, yes, this is awesome. Yes, this is awesome. I want a deep, engaging narrative. I want, immersive RPG gameplay. I want it bigger than Skyrim. I want it to be proc-gen, procedurally generated dungeons and things like that. Take all those ideas, squish them down to one, maybe two or three. Expand on those ideas, and even if it's just one mechanic, expand on those ideas in a game design document. It could be a short game design document, and that's fine. And then you can work through those different important elements like a pitch, an overview, the game mechanics or the core mechanics and the core gameplay, what sort of assets those are going to include when you get there. Start to prototype that game in your software of choice, be that Unity or Unreal, whichever one you're accustomed to. If this is your first time getting into either of them, take to YouTube and hit up some of the tutorials that both Unity and Unreal have documented on their website. I am a huge fan of Unity because of the resources that are available on their webpage. They have a lot of tutorials, a lot of guides in order to get you started. If your background is in art, there's even programming and scripting tutorials. If your background is in scripting, I can't really say the same thing, but there are a lot of tutorials online for getting into art and getting into 3D program or 3D modeling. Blender is a really, really great resource for starting 3D modeling for free, and the assets or the resources that are available online are abundant. There's a lot of cool features that Blender has that I wish I had the opportunity to learn. Prototype. Once your prototype is good, you like it, you love it. It's hitting all those P's and Q's. The I's are crossed, the T's are dotted. Start to polish your game. Start to put the icing on the cake and make it look pretty. but don't be in a rush to get here, because what's most important is how the player is going to interact in the environment that you created. If your environment's super beautiful looking, but the gameplay is monotonous, or it sucks, or it just doesn't deliver, or there's still something that you want to change, like, go do that first. Lastly, rinse and repeat. Once you have gotten to that point, once you have your game and it's out there on itch.io, which is a really, really great resource for putting out small projects that you've developed yourself and sharing them with either your friends or a community of people who are also working together on projects. That's a really, really great space for that. Or, you're putting something up on Steam because you feel like that this project, even though simple in its idea, was achieved really, really well. And now you want to really share it with people and really, really get it out there. We just watched people playing Among Us, which I think is an amazing game that's done with so very, just a few layers. And that's a really, really great example of how a game can be, can really knock it out of the park when you focus in on some of those core gameplay mechanics. I'm trying to think if there was another major point that I wanted to cover. I want to talk about Onsen Master. Onsen Master, in some of the examples that I presented, but Onsen Master is a hot spring strategy game about healing. It is available on Steam right now, and we are working to release this game very, very soon. You take the role of Mu, who is charged with sort of restoring the different hot springs or onsen across the fantasy island of Izujima. And the entire point of that is to take the player to these different bathhouse locations for them to interact with the customers and build ingredients for them. I have a lot of fun with it. It was deeply inspired by Spirited Away, and I hope that you will take an opportunity to check it out for yourself. Maybe wishlist it on Steam if it looks like something that you enjoy, and look forward to its release. We have a lot of really cool updates coming out, as well as a play test that will go out to our Kickstarter backers first, but we'll also be opening up at a later date for everybody else. And so that's something that you can look forward to. As far as other resources that might be really good to hop into, or things that if you're working on a game and you want to get involved in a community and connect with other people that are working on games, game jams are a really, really wonderful way to not only have an opportunity to try an idea within a specific parameter. Maybe the event or the jam is happening over the course of a weekend, and so you only have 48 hours to work on something. It's a really, really great parameter to force yourself to focus in on just the important game mechanics, the ones that you want to share with everybody else once those 48 hours are up. Global Game Jam just happened, and there's a bunch of other game jams that are happening throughout the year that give developers and creators space to explore all types of different game genres, whether that's working on a visual novel, whether that's working on a platformer or anything else. It's called Global Game Jam, just to repeat that. And it's not the only one. You could probably search upcoming game jams and see a ton of them. Big ones, small ones, medium-sized ones. Participate in as many as you feel comfortable. There's no pressure. And if you don't complete anything, that's also fine too. Either way, you gained a little bit of traction, a little bit of experience throughout that moment, and hopefully you can still apply that knowledge to your project in the future. I think those are all the things. I think those are all the things that I wanted to talk about as far as designing your first game goes. I sincerely hope that if this is something that you're looking to do, I hope that it goes well. I hope that some of these tips that I presented here are a really good place to get you started. Like I said, my intention here was to not go too granular and dive into a bunch of different information, because I feel like that sometimes that can knock people out of how getting involved in something might appear accessible. And even though games can be daunting and games can be huge to create, they can also be incredibly accessible and incredibly useful for others. You might be exploring, I have no idea. I'm not going to assume. I'm not going to assume what you might be exploring for a game, but I'm here to tell you that you can do it. And if there's any questions that I could personally answer about them, like I said, I am always streaming on Twitch each week, not only playing games, but talking about game development and sharing my own progress in game development. You can watch different Onsen Master levels start from being crummy, ugly pieces of crap to nice, pretty, finalized assets. So let's take a moment to I'm going to drink some more water, but if you have any questions whatsoever, I'm here in chat. We do have plenty of time for Q&A, and my ears are open. He said, could you share this template, please? Absolutely. Let me see. I put this on a Miro board, so this one was one that I didn't intend to share, but I will find a way to make it accessible, and I will make sure that that's shared either before the gala is over or shortly after. That is something I can deliver on for sure. I'm just going to sip my water while I see typing and things. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. I hope the information was helpful. What language did I learn to script in? I have been actively learning C#. Like I said, my background is in 3D modeling and illustration. And so programming, I am not experienced in it at all. Actually, a really great example of this. Just recently, the global game jam that I was referring to, I thought it would be a really opportune moment to learn a little bit more as far as scripting goes. And so together with some other game dev friends, hello out there if you're watching, we put together a little project called FM Radio for Global Game Jam. I got to learn a little bit of scripting and successfully did some of it. And then, hit with a wall by some really daunting scripts that I'm really thankful for other team members who had come in and saved the day on that. But I used that as an opportunity to learn some scripting and to scope out an idea that was small and achievable for the Global Game Jam weekend. How are you able to manage what was or wasn't important in regards to first I want to work on this, first I need to learn how to do this, scripting, coding, etc.? That's a good question. Wow. So if let's use our mech sports arena game as an example and figure out decide what portions of it were most important. If we were looking at the big version of the game and we're saying to ourselves, I want to. It has to have this player-to-player interaction. It has to have the hub space. It has to have the custom robo parts. The parts that I would say get the game, get you to the first step of your game being playable, interactive. In this case, I would probably say, if I were to weigh out those decisions again, I would say probably the racing part. That would be the first element that I would work on. That would be the one that is like, yeah, you can do the player-to-player interaction, the multiplayer, the arena hub, the custom robo parts, but really the crux of the game here is being able to race and being able to win a race. And so when you think about those core mechanics, it's if you're able to answer the question, what's the point? What's the point of the game? Then I think that will help minimize on which mechanic or which avenue you would want to pursue first. If you're more of a writer-based, if you're more writer-based than art-based, do you feel it would be best to have a lot of game concept script written out before looking for artists, or should artists be included even from the base skeleton idea stage? That's a really cool question. It all depends. Sometimes you might find yourself creating a project with a group of people who are mutually interested and mutually passionate about the project from the ground up. I was really lucky to have the team that I'm working with for Onsen Master because all of us were mutually invested in the idea and wanted to see that project as a success. That started with 3 team members, and then we later expanded to the 6 that we have with the rest of the team members joining at a later date. But I'm going to end up kind of answering 2 parts of the question here, or the question in 2 ways. If you had a group of people that are there and they're passionate and they're with you from the ground up, that's amazing. Still try and keep the scope of that small. Still try and find out how well or how not well you might discover that you work together as team members, and use that as like a template for creating other projects in the future. If it is just you and writing is your skill set, that I was looking for a better word, but writing is the avenue, that your lane, the one that you're in, then yes, I would say do everything that could give your project the bones and everything else in place as best as you can, to the best of your ability, so that when you're ready to bring in other people, they can look at it and go, cool, I'm just going to place my artwork in this spot, that spot, etc. I hope that answers the question. Follow up then, where can I learn C#? So if you're intended on jumping into some of the game development engines that I talked about earlier, that would be Unity and Unreal. Again, I can only speak to Unity in this example, but I don't doubt that Unreal is doing something similar as far as its documentation and things that you can learn within it. But Unity contains a lot of beginner script tutorials, and so they will do things like create your own platformer and walk you through the script that is associated to getting that platformer working, as well as, if you do have artwork, here's how you insert it, or you can use some of the template artwork that we have available. But it will absolutely teach you C# and Java. Sorry, I'm going to drink some water and then I'm going to read some more questions. Do you have preference for Unity or Unreal? And what would you recommend for a beginner? I would personally recommend Unity. Something about it feels extremely comfortable, and honestly, this is not to take away from anybody who's using Unreal. Unreal looked really, really daunting to me, and so that's why I went with learning Unity first. The knowledge base that I have for Unity has been entirely learned off of their documentation and their YouTube channel. Unreal is available. Unreal does have documentation, and if you do end up going that route, it's there. Both of these resources are making themselves available and accessible to people who want to get started in games. So I don't think you'll be let down by either one of them. How long have you been working on games for, even little prototypes? I'm like 7 or 8 years. And that would be, no. Since university, so like 10 years. That would be, there's another engine out there that is called, I think it's called Rhino. What is that engine called? It's okay. It's old. It's old as dirt. Before Unity. This is back when, this is going to show my age, but this is back when Dota was still a mod on Warcraft and all that. We used a game engine called, I'm pretty sure it was called like Rhinoceros or something like that. And normal maps were kind of a thing, but we were building our games in that. So yeah, it's been a while, but ever since Unity started rolling out, that's when we pivoted to that, and I've been using Unity for I want to say 6 or 7 years. I know that Code Academy has a good beginner course, but I don't know about game dev specific. Code Academy is a great place to start for beginner coding courses. Yes. When making concept art, how do you balance practicality, interactable items, and aesthetics, ambience? Making concept art, how do you balance practicality, interactable items, and aesthetics? I think I understand the question. As far as interactable items and ambiance, there's going to be the difference here for concept art will be concept art and key art. Concept art is intended to describe and create a rendition of the objects that are within the game, either for yourself or somebody else to create. These are the types of pieces of art that do not have to be fully rendered. They're sketch messes, but there's enough information there for the next person that you're handing it off to understand what it is that they are going to be working on if that asset's being turned into, say, a 3D model or a 2D sprite. Key art is more so the type of artwork that would represent the mood, the setting, or the ambiance that you're trying to achieve for the game. And that really adds I would say, the tone or the sort of filter that you want all of the concept art and the 3D models or those final game assets to really feel like they belong in. So they would be kind of two separate spaces, but the key art is, I would say the key art is something that would be done potentially first in this case. You know, you might have a picture of, let's use the mech arena again as the example, but we might have some key art drawn of just the view of the hub where the player is going to go interact. And this is like the slightly larger version of mech arena. And you see some buildings and things like that. You see some robots in the environment, but none of those things are there to tell to somebody else, hey, these are the assets that you're going to create. It's just there for the mood and the setting. Let's see. Unreal doesn't work on cheap laptops. Unreal can be taxing. I love everybody is sharing all these different links. Thank you so much for lofting those out into chat, into channel here. These are absolutely great, and I would highly recommend checking out any of these links that have been shared. And don't be afraid to ask if there's something that you're looking to get started on. If there's something that you can't exactly find the lead on, a lot of those same spaces have forums. I hope that you already know that the Black Card members Discord server is another really great avenue to be able to share and ask or receive help from other practicing artists, programmers, and developers, because we are in here and we're out here too. So any other questions? We still have plenty of time to kind of float through some questions here before finally wrapping up. How do you fight burnout when working on your game, especially at the start of a project? That's a really great question. I would say, I like the emoji that came in on that question. Yes. So I think when keeping your game small and keeping the main mechanics that you want to work through for your project paced out as best you can, I think those things start to build a safety net for not burning yourself out on your project. Because your project is small, because it is scoped to only focus in on those 1 to 2 mechanics that we talked about earlier. I think that gives you a lot of space to be able to work on it at a bit of a leisurely pace, because there's no release deadline, there's no rush to get those things done. Especially if you're trying to explore new prototypes, like this is all the exploratory portion. And you should give yourself as much time as much space as you need to be able to explore those boundaries healthfully. When it comes to burnout, as it might relate to, say, a large project that you're already involved in a project, you're already involved at a game company, or some long ongoing project that has an impending release date. It's important to still kind of manage your time as best you can, and do what feels right for you. But setting yourself up and having an extremely large game project, a game project that is scoped too high, is like a really, really fast track for kind of burning yourself out, as you'd say. How often during game development are you rescoping, cutting, and adding features? How do you approach those conversations with your team? I love this question, because one of the things that I shared earlier was that there were some parts of Onsen Master that are not in the final version of the game, and will not be in there. Um, this was this was hard, and every single time it's hard because a lot of the ideas that you want to see in your game are ideas that you're married to, ideas that you're telling yourself, I need this in here. I need this idea present to help deliver, the version of the game that I originally imagined. Um, any of the ideas that we have taken out of Onsen Master um, have been ones that we felt, even though we really love the idea, we really think that it'll add to the game, that by it not being present, it will never take away from the core mechanics that we're trying to deliver. And so with Onsen Master's pillars being collecting your ingredient, gathering your customer and putting them in a matching bath, exploring different towns and gathering your ingredients in the forest, and having this expansive exploratory adventure mode to it all. Really, ultimately, it was something that was like, okay, like we can still create our game without this. Sometimes that question is not as easy as others. Let's say you want to create a game that has 10 levels, and you're telling yourself, I have a narrative that is expanding 10 levels, and I want it to see all the way to the finish. That might be the other thing that you realize is becoming a little bit debilitating and becoming something that has to be cut back on. And so maybe your project turns into 6 levels or 5 levels, and you can condense the story down, or whatever other features that might come along with that to help still meet the product that you are hoping to achieve. Yeah. Oh my gosh. The way Onsen Master was just huge. But I'm really glad. Shout outs to this game, Sakana of Rice and Ruin, for creating the version of Onsen Master that I don't have the time or resources for. There aren't necessarily bathhouses in that game, but it absolutely does the version of stuff that we originally envisioned for Onsen Master, and so it's still exciting to see those types of things out there. Do you learn application of the information you get in these classes? Oh, I'm sorry. I think I might be misinterpreting. That might be ongoing conversation. Do you know a good place to learn basics of coding that isn't maybe code specific? I took a code class and I have a book, but there's still some concepts that I just don't know until you are needing them, like flood fill, common coding concepts, and terminology. Would you say a book is best? Ooh. I'll do my best to try and answer that, because I don't come from a coding background, and so that's hard. It's a little hard for me to articulate. However, if you are trying to learn code concepts, let me make sure I'm looking at I took a code class and have a book, but there are some concepts that I still just don't know. If you're trying to learn some code concepts, but not be maybe bogged down by the math and all the script portions of it, there are a lot of introduction to code camps that are out there that use that break down those concepts into a kind of like basic English phrasing, almost visual scripting is that's the word I'm looking for. Is a really great way to kind of jump into that, like things every code would do that you would need to know they do. I'm sorry, I might not be entirely catching, but I'd be more than happy to chat about that more and try to answer that as best I can. I don't believe I'm quite catching it here. Yeah. Okay. I still have time. I still have time for additional questions. If you have any questions about Onsen Master, I'm happy to touch on those, or any other game development questions while we still are here. Otherwise, I will probably say that this will be a wrap in about 5 minutes or so. We started using Miro earlier this year, and it is a breeze. I cannot champion this enough as far as being able to write on a digital whiteboard. It's so much fun. What are some games or art that inspire and influence you? I love that. You know, I think a lot of decisions in my life are primarily influenced by things like Inuyasha and Ghibli films, and then a myriad of eclectic, weird, or retro game titles that have found themselves on the PlayStation 2. I can talk endlessly about how much I love the game Bushido Blade and that it needs to be recreated. Like, why do we not have another Bushido Blade yet? I absolutely love games like Tenchu, which is like an incredible ninja stealth game that it requires the player to be very methodical. And I love games that force you to make slow-paced, kind of intentional decisions. So there's mechanical reasons that I admire the games, and as you pointed, sort of aesthetic to them as well. I love the sort of aesthetic, the vibe of Tenchu as a whole. And then more recently, I would say games like From Software. A lot of the From Software titles from their time back on PlayStation 1 all the way up to the titles that we know them for now with the Souls-like games and Bloodborne and Sekiro. I think those are other games to be marveled at, but not the type of games that I'm trying to create per se, because those games are hard as hell. Anyways, I think that is everything that I have for you today. I really appreciate the time that you took to hop in here to hang out with me and discuss some of these topics. If you're typing and you have another question, I'm happy to answer. There's no rush to cut things off here. But it looks like that we may or may not be out of questions. I'll wait and see. While we're wrapping things up, again, please follow me online if you have any questions. Absolutely reach out to me in the Discord server if you have any questions. I'm always open to answering. Reach out to me on Twitter or just ask me questions on Twitch when I'm streaming game dev stuff and tips and updates and all that kind of stuff. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the gala. There's so many cool things to do. Go play games and go to the Artist Alley, and shout out to all you. Happy Black History Month. Oh my God. That's it from me. I'll see you around.
a surprise for you. It's time for some finger cutting. Fingers are overrated, right? Just choose one of your fingers to cut off. It's real cut and dry. Get it? Think happy thoughts. Nothing like a good fingering. Alright, next question. I am a sucker for stories about plucky orphans. What is the last name of the eponymous character in Anne of Green Gables? Time's running out. Who picked this one? I want to show you something. I want to see your artistic side. Get your finger ready. Subwoofer. Draw this thing as best as you can and press send when you're finished. Now everyone gets to vote. Pick the drawing that you hate the most. Being harsh with them is the only way to ensure they stop making art. Seriously, vote for the drawing that sucks. The votes are in. Maybe your art will be better appreciated after you're dead, which looks like it's gonna be really, really soon. You put your heart and soul into that drawing, which is why it had to die. Hey audience, you're an embarrassment to all uncaptured people. I've got more questions for you. This will be good to know in a few minutes. What blood type is the universal recipient? Time's running out. Who said this one? Let's play a game. Looks like someone wants to spin the loser wheel. Go ahead and spin it. Oh, I just love it when she spins. Oh, what an unexpected result. The whittling down to just one player has finally come to fruition. Let's do this. Well, look who's still alive. Now you just have to escape with your body. I'm going to give you a category. European rivers. Tap on each answer that fits, then press submit. Let's see the right answers. You move forward one space for every correct answer. You're getting real close to the exit. Oh, did I mention that all the other ghosts get to play too? If a ghost catches up to you, then they will steal your body. Then they can escape and win the game. Here's everyone's next question. And ghosts get a third choice to help them catch up to you. nations north of the equator. Can you stay out of the shadows? Trivial Pursuit Genus Edition categories. The Jungle Book Animals. I have to write some harder questions. Conifer trees. Good. Now escape before the others catch you. Hurry up. Cartoon characters with mustaches. A bunch of smart people, huh? So many kills. Sharks. The shadows are coming. Invertebrates. Another life swap. Hosts of the View.